Hey people, welcome to the new DJ Football Show. It's a new show brought to you by the Daily Journal. I'm Brad, this is Dalton. You don't know our last names, I'm not telling you. But we're here to talk about high school football. And what we're going to do on this show, Dalton, is you and I are going to look at three big games coming up this weekend. And we're going to preview the games, which is pretty standard stuff for something like this, I'm told. But we're also going to do a couple of other things. We're going to actually pick winners of the games, all three. But so we don't make anybody angry and make them think we're like biased against their school, we're going to let fate decide the winner. So we're going to flip a coin on each of these games. Home team heads, visiting team tails. We will make it a little interesting. We'll pick a score, okay? So we'll let the coin pick the winner. Dalton and I will pick the scores, and we'll keep track throughout the season of how well the coin does picking these games. We're also going to give out a special award each week. We'll tell you about that a little bit. But we're going to go over these three big games. We'll kind of break them down, look at the matchups. Here's the three big games. We've got Houston at Pontotoc. This is week one, okay? High school football is finally here. And so we've got Houston at Pontotoc. That's a good game, Dalton. That's why I picked it. Tupelo at Meridian, and then Shannon at Corinth. So, pretty good games, Dalton. You haven't said anything yet because I won't shut up. You like these games?
Yeah, I think the 6A game is probably the best one to me. Yeah, it's probably two of the top 5 teams in the state.
Yeah.
But the Shannon Corinth, both good. That's good 4A matchup that they could potentially match up again in the playoffs, and then Houston and Pontotoc both top of the league in North Mississippi. So
yeah. So all very good teams, at least we think, because they haven't played a game yet. So that's your three big games. Let's start with Houston at Pontotoc. Okay, this to me, Dalton, you got your best 3A team in Northeast Mississippi, Houston, against the best 4A team, Pontotoc. And if you look at our preseason rankings, we've got Houston number 1, small schools, and Pontotoc number 4.
But the number 1 4A team.
The number 1 4A team behind some 6A and 5A schools. So you've got Houston at Pontotoc. They play every year. It should be a good game. So let's go over the keys to the game, Dalton. Key number 1. Houston has a defensive lineman named Rish Alford. He doesn't look like much. He's 5'8", $175, but he plays on the defensive line. But he's quick.
They had 18 sacks last year, I think.
22
sacks.
22 sacks, Dalton. He made first team All-Area, and he's going up against the Pontotoc offensive line that is kind of rebuilding itself, and it lost Cole Smith, who signed with LSU, so he's down there eating corn dogs right now and playing for Coach O. So how confident is Pontotoc in that O-line, you think?
Well, whenever I talked to Caleb Hobson earlier in the preseason, he's confident in them. I know that Jeff Carter said if they can get the run started, then they're confident. But Rish Alford is so quick that it's gonna be tough to get the run started.
Yeah.
Another matchup there I like is Caleb Hobson versus Jalen May.
Speaking of Caleb Hobson, yeah, that's our second key to the game is Caleb Hobson. And Jalen May is a really good defensive back there for Houston, and so that's one to watch. And Hobson, Dalton, he's a guy who's going to make an impact on offense in multiple ways. Receiver, running back, he'll play some wildcat, and he can hurt you on special teams, can't he?
I don't know. I saw last year, I remember one game, I think he had a return touchdown and an offensive touchdown in the same game. But I want to see him in all those positions, but the position I'm interested in the most is wildcat quarterback.
Yeah.
Where he's moving to this year. I want to see how he can handle the snaps and just running right there. He said he's done it all his life. He's played the wildcat position before. Yeah,
it'd be interesting to see how often they use him at that position, because they do have Justin Carter back at quarterback this year. So
and they've got a lot of running backs they can hand the ball to whenever they want.
They sure do. Key number 3 to this game: turnovers. It's the best I could come up with. Coaches always say the key to the game is turnovers. It's true. If you turn it over 4 times, you're probably going to lose. So, okay, let's make the pick, Dalton. Let's let the coin make the pick. Again, heads, home team; tails, visitor. Houston or Pontotoc. This game's at Pontotoc. Okay, here we go. Ready? By the way, this quarter, courtesy of John L. Pitts, sports editor, because we're just lowly hacks. We don't have any money. He's got all the money. Here we go. Tails. So Houston is going to win this game according to fate. Got a score, Dalton?
I'm going to go 28-24. 28-24. Houston.
Good close game.
Oh, it's going to be a close game no matter what, I think. But Houston's got a real tough defense, kind of going to stop that run game. You're not going to stop the run game altogether, but you can hold them a little bit. 3 touchdowns, I feel is fair.
Houston has a big question at quarterback. Otherwise, they've got a lot of skilled players. They're great on defense. They got everybody back just about. Pontotoc, I think, going to be pretty tough on defense. And we know they got weapons on offense. But I'm going to go against the grain here. I'm going to say Houston 14, Pontotoc 12. Because
Okay.
you anticipate these offensive battles, and then suddenly it turns into a 14-12 game sometimes.
I can see him holding offenses, but I can see Jalen May making a big play on special teams.
I could see
Kind
that.
of being the difference there.
All right, that's game 1. Game 2, Tupelo at Meridian. So the Golden Wave open on the road, a matchup of 2 big-time 6A teams. Dalton, of course, Tupelo went undefeated in the regular season last year. Meridian reached the North Final in 6A. So this is going to be a really good early test for both of these teams, Dalton, to kind of give them an idea where they are early in the season.
Yeah, well, they played last year, and this was the Tupelo defense was just so good, and T. Adams, the quarterback of Meridian, I mean, he basically shredded him in the second half. I think he threw for over 300 yards in the second half. He kind of, he was just all over the field. The defense couldn't get off the field. That's going to be kind of see what happens there, because the defense, they returned in 3 guys and only 1 person in the secondary. Tay Standifer's out with an injury, so.
Yeah, and so your keys to the game, key number 1 is that Tupelo defense. It does have some good speed on defense, and there's no Jet Johnson, there's no Peter Gray, those 2 all-star linebackers they had. They're off to college now playing ball, but so they may be a little bit smaller, Dalton, but they're going to be fast, which is good to have in 6A.
Yeah, that could definitely help out against that with the speed of that quarterback and the running back they have. Those receivers, that could end up being better than what it was last year against that specific team, I guess. But
yeah.
I'm interested to see what he's going to do against them.
Key number 2, Tupelo's offensive line. They've got 4 new starters this year, Dalton, and they've got a new O-line coach. Ryan Keaton was hired away from Nenawaya. He was a good head coach there. He's a co-offensive coordinator / offensive line coach for Tupelo. So, I mean, it all starts up front, Dalton. That's what the coaches tell us anyway. And 4 new starters. How do they feel about those guys?
Well, I don't know too much about how they feel. They're not sharing too much about the offensive line, but with the biggest school in 6A, it's hard for me to imagine they don't have some offensive linemen that are going to be good and step up and take that next role like those guys did last year. But
it's one of the biggest high schools in the state, so if you can't find some beef in the
Yeah.
student body, then
they had some guys that couldn't play sometime last year. With how they beat everybody last year, they put in the secondary guys a lot in the second
Yeah.
half. So, I mean, there's going to be guys that have experience. But that Meridian defensive line, I'm pretty sure there's a D1 guy on there. There's a guy that's committed to Auburn that's on the defensive line. So that's going to be a huge test for whoever's right there at the beginning.
should be a fun game. Key number 3 to the game, turnovers.
Can Stephon McGlon not turn the ball over? T. Adams, I think, threw 3 interceptions last year. That was crucial there. See if Stephon McGlon can hold them this year.
Told you, turnovers. Let's make the pick, Dalton. Let's let the coin make the pick here. Who's going to win? I need to work on my coin flipping skills, Dalton. I got heads. That means Meridian is going to win. Score.
42-28.
2 touchdowns, huh? All right. I will say Meridian 33, Tupelo 29. That's game number 2. Game number 3, Shannon at Corinth. Got a couple of 4A playoff teams from last year, Dalton, with dangerous offenses. We could see lots of points in this one. Keys to the game. Let's start with Shannon defending that wing T. Corinth runs the wing T, which most people don't. They've got 2 really good running backs, Tam Patterson and Zach Patterson. Both racked up a lot of yards last year. I think they combined for 2,000 or so yards rushing. They're back. Shannon has had issues on defense, Dalton, and that's already tough enough to defend the wing T, even if you're a good defense, isn't it?
Yeah, and I don't really know too much about the defense. I know they're excited about it. They think it's going to be a lot better this year, but generally they haven't been just that great in this last year. But it's going to be hard. When you got defense, a good thing they got an offense as good as they have.
Well, at least it's they've got extra time to prepare for it with this being a week 1 game. Key number 2, Shannon quarterback Jordan Gillian. He is a veteran. He's a senior, a 4th-year starter.
He is.
And if he can have a good game and kind of become an even better passer than he has been, I mean, that can help them keep pace with Corinth.
Yeah, I think in this game last year, I think he threw it for 375 yards in this game last year. So Corinth's defense had a little bit of trouble stopping him last year, and they got good receivers and Eric Rogers over there, and good running back in Dalen Whitfield. I mean, The offense is going to be hard to stop, especially with him. He's just got to relax on turnovers.
Yeah.
Turns the ball over a decent bit, so.
Turnovers, yeah. And that brings us to key number 3. Dalton, can you guess what it is?
Turnovers.
Penalties.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, threw you a curveball there, didn't I?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, penalties make a big difference, the coaches tell me. Okay, let's make the pick. We got Shannon at Corinth. Here we go. I'm trying not to drop it this time. It is heads. Corinth wins. Score.
28-27.
Dalton has a relatively low-scoring game at 28-27. I mentioned picking a low score for what could be an offensive battle, but this one I'm going with a high score. So I will pick Corinth 52-48.
Okay.
100 points combined for these teams.
I mean, I can see it.
I can totally see it. You'll be there, so you will see it.
You're right.
Ooh, that was nice. Okay, let's move on to this award. We're going to give this award out every week. We call it the Broughton Award. Now, let me give you some background. Former news editor Rod Guajardo, when I came back to the sports department last year, he decided that we should get a joint Twitter account and call it Broughton. Brad, Dalton, get it? Broughton, like Brangelina. So that was Rod's idea. So we're going to call this the Broughton Award because we're going to honor the best 1-2 punch from the previous week. Maybe it's a quarterback-receiver combination or a couple of defensive players, whatever. Now, we had no games last week. I don't count jamborees. So this time we're going to do a special Broughton Award, giving it to John Pitts and Lee Smith, because those are the two guys that put together the football journal section that came out in Sunday's paper with previews on all the teams and rankings and all kinds of fun stuff to get you ready for the season. They did the page design, put it all together. They put in a lot of hours. So congrats to John and Lee. I'll give you your quarterback, John. That's what you get for the Broughton Award.
Taking a look at a few games we're covering this week. We had a couple of changes. Baldwin at New Albany will be covered by Dennis Clayton over there, and Houston at Pontotoc will be David Wheeler. Tupelo at Meridian, Logan Lowry's now going to be covering that instead of myself. I'll be at Shannon at Corinth. Itawamba at Ripley, Abby Loden at the Itawamba Times will be covering that. John Wiles will be at Saltillo at North Pontotoc, and Gene Phelps will be covering East Union at Faulkner. That's just a little handful of the games. We're also going to have roundups for 3 or 4 more, and expect scores and everything in the paper on Saturday morning.
That's it. We're done. Thanks for joining us. A reminder, you can catch us as well on the Prep Rally podcast every Wednesday. You can find that in iTunes, any of your podcast apps, or at preprally.djournal.com. Follow us on Twitter at djournalpreps. He's at DLMiddleton8. I'm at Brad Locke. And use the hashtag DJPreps when you're tweeting about high school sports in Northeast Mississippi. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back next Thursday to talk more high school football.